Hello, everybody. We're here once again.
Hi,
Divine
everyone.
Dabblings
With Oberon.
and Banshee.
I'm not Oberon, though.
We've crossed the streams. Hi.
Hope everybody's doing well on this fine Thursday evening.
It is a fine Thursday evening, and we are here to deliver another 2 hours of live streaming. Ask us questions, watch our readings, get involved in our discussions, that kind of thing.
And check out our cats from time to time. So, what are we going to start with today? I guess we should start and introduce ourselves again if we have people joining us who are not, who didn't miss the first live stream.
Well, despite that first few moments, I am actually Oberon, and this is actually Banshee. And we are tarot card readers of many years and have now decided, after quite a bit of public readings for people, thousands of readings over many decades, we've decided to take it to the live stream just to see if we can help even more people. What do you want to say about yourself?
Well, I have just been itching to get back into reading tarot cards for a larger audience once again. You know, we always do it for family, friends, but it's been a little while for me since I've read publicly, and I am looking forward to this totally.
Totally.
Totally. And so we want to read for you as a group, the audience as a group. We're also at some point going to be setting up private readings. We're not quite at that stage yet, but stay tuned. That will be coming. And for now, we're going to be reading publicly.
And look, we have a visitor.
It's the Sun Man.
Sunny.
Actually, his name is Sunny. I have many names for him. Man of the Sun, Sun Man, Sun Boy.
You may recall that one of our other three kitties was with us at the last broadcast, more in the shadows perhaps, but she did have one standout moment, which may end up again on YouTube as its own little short clip. But Sunman is our little orange meatloaf, and
Oh, I consider him my orange teddy bear, frankly.
well, I'm not going to eat him, which I would a regular meatloaf, but you know what I mean. You know, there was that one cartoonist that did the pictures of cartoons of cats, and they all looked like some big lump of meatloaf.
And right now, he's kind of sitting in our on our reading pad, so that's going to have to change.
He's sitting in our field of importance.
He's going to have to move if we are going to read for people today. But I'm giving him just a little liberty to sit with us for a while here because sadly he has a date at the vet tomorrow. He's got to get checked out for some little problems.
Yes, he's been a little under the weather lately and not eating for a little over a day, and that's very unusual for him. So we're going to have it checked out.
Got to make sure he's okay. So let's wish Sunman a speedy recovery, and let's move on to some tarot topics.
Alrighty.
So basically, I thought we could talk about a few of the cards we've pulled in the last few days for our tarot for tomorrow.
Oh.
If you're not familiar with our tarot for tomorrow, please visit our Facebook page and find out about it. Every night, we pull a card for the next day, and we give you a forecast based on that card for the day ahead. Now we know, it may not affect everybody the same way, and some people this card may not be meant for. But some, it will definitely impact your lives. And as you read our interpretation, you may know exactly what we're talking about and what you're going to face in the day ahead. Or after the day happens, you may think later, gee.
And that kind of happened, didn't it?
It did. And in a very weird way, because we didn't quite interpret it that way at the time, but as we talked about it later, we realized, holy crap, we should have known that.
And you can tell us more about that in a moment. I just want to quick interject that we had done some readings at PPD last week in an event we went to, and it was kind of the same thing. We're reading the card and giving the standard reading, and then, of course, confirmation comes that we have actually hit quite specifically on a particular point with that particular person we were reading for. So go ahead, Banshee, and give us a little more information.
Sure. Do you have the Nine of Swords card?
Oh, I think I do. Let's see if it's right at
We
hand.
were talking about it earlier.
There you go.
Okay.
Let me show that to our
Yeah,
audience, too.
I don't know if everybody remembers from those of you that read the Tarot for Tomorrow, we did the Nine of Swords card in the reading for Sunday night, which was for Monday. And it didn't occur to us at the time we read it. We gave our interpretation and thought about it. What does the Nine of Swords indicate to you?
Well, in its regular position, I've often felt that it was sort of like suffering from afar, somebody who's very concerned over somebody else's misfortune or possible sadness. It seems to be like maybe the kind of thing where the person can't really do more but really wishes they could. So they are there in spirit, in support, and feeling very bad.
There is worry, sorrow, and grief associated with this card. So it just kind of like, duh, hit me with a ton of bricks that, of course, we were all feeling pretty worried and sorrow and grief stricken on Monday after the shooting episodes that happened on the weekend. I don't know why we just didn't even put two and two together with that. It's not because we're not psychic or anything, honestly, but I think really what happened is that was such a traumatic thing, hearing about those two incidents so close together, that I think I just totally blocked it out of my mind at the time we did the reading. I was pretty shell-shocked, Sunday after the second shooting happened. And, for somebody with some empathic capabilities, you really have to put some shields up when you're hearing such horrible news and you're seeing all these grief-stricken people. I really felt a lot of anxiety and depression and remorse and sorrow, and it can really wear me down. So I do apologize, because I really think now that card for Monday was talking about that, us coping and dealing with the feelings that we had relating to the episodes this weekend. How do you feel? Would you agree?
I agree with you, and it's kind of interesting because I think sometimes when a person may be going through their own sense of grief or some sort of trauma, that they do exactly that they may actually close down or shut off. And you know that I believe it was on Monday morning after we had heard about the additional Dayton shooting. I kind of lost it for a few moments. I actually wept for a moment or two. It's hard to deal with that. That's all I can say. And I think what we were going through and what probably maybe many of you were going through really is rather summed up by the meaning of that card, the Nine of Swords.
And there are many ways to interpret the card for the day ahead, and I was really thinking of other possible scenarios in people's lives, and I didn't deal with the greater issue at hand, and I will definitely keep that in mind in the future, I think.
Yes, probably something for both of us to think about.
So, we were looking at some of the cards that we had pulled, and like I said, I think on the first live stream, sometimes they really hit and they make sense for the day, and sometimes they don't. Now, last night, for example, we did pull the Temperance card upright. And the Temperance card, for me, indicated a lot of peacefulness and tranquility and finding that harmony and balance and doing nothing in excess. I've been trying to emulate that today. I can say that I failed a little bit. I might have excess binged, ate a little bit today, I'll admit. But other than that, I dressed for the day. I wore these serene blue colors. I wore the serene necklace. I was trying to feel really the flow of water energy around me, which was part of what I suggested to people who tuned into Tarot for Tomorrow. So if you'd like, if you would like insights like that, please join us on our Facebook page and you'll find them daily.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, so would you like to maybe do a meditation for us? Are you ready yet, or would you
I
like
can
a
probably
little...
do that. I'll just kind of get us in the mood.
Okay, and that'll
Okay.
give Sunman a little more extra time to relax here with us.
Yes. It's almost like he's the landlord and he doesn't have to leave if he doesn't want to. Are
He
you that?
owns
Are you
this
that,
table.
Sunman? So why don't you do more patter while I look
Oh,
for
I
that card I
absolutely
want?
will, because, were you looking for this card?
Oh, that's right. And you told me that you had it for me. I guess I just wasn't paying attention.
That's all right. At your service, sir.
Okay, so we're going to get ready for our short meditation here. And I want everybody to close their eyes and relax if they wish, or not, but try to get into a more peaceful frame of mind. Take some deep breaths, but slow and calming deep breaths. Perhaps as you breathe in, mentally count from 3 backwards to 1. And then again on the next breath. If you hear a particular noise in the background, that may be yet another cat making noise. I'm not sure if she wants more food, but she's going to have to wait. At any rate, we're relaxing now. We're feeling ourselves relax. Perhaps we're taking a few steps in our inner mind downward into our subconscious. And as we feel relaxed, in our inner mind, we can see a card. Perhaps you can see it too if you just want to look. It's the Magician. The Magician is card number 1 in most decks of the of the tarot, specifically in the Rider-Waite, but other decks too choose to use it as the number 1 card. The Magician is a person of willpower. The Magician is a person of mastery. The Magician has, in many decks, the sign of infinity over his forehead and 8 on its side. And when you think about that, that's kind of like a loop and just goes around and round. Maybe some people think of it as a Mobius strip or something else that indicates the concept of life moving on and on forever and ever. The Magician has a sense of that, but really moves more from the outer rim of that, as in wanting to have that mastery to decide all those things, to employ his will, specifically working with the elements. And in this case, the Magician works with the magical elements. So we see some of those there. Usually in most tarot cards, there will be something that represents the suit of pentacles, the suit of cups, and the suit of swords, as well as the suit of wands. He actually has 2 images of a wand in his hand. One is the one on the table with the other symbols. The other one is in his hand, and it's double edged in a way, or double tipped. And the idea is that he draws power from the heavens, and he draws also power from below, and he brings them up into himself from wherever they come to utilize his will to have mastery over those things that are employed by the Magician. The Magician is a metaphor for magical will in your life. If you embrace this concept now, perhaps you too can feel empowered. You can move along through your life, deciding what you can master, but also having the ability to discern what it is you cannot master. And so that is another message of the Magician that I give you, that some things are possible, are always possible. Some things are not possible or rarely possible. The wise person, the wise Magician, knows exactly what is malleable to his will and what may not be. So we want to consider that as we move through this challenge here with the Magician. The other thing about the Magician is he is a way shower in a way too. So the idea that these are qualities with himself also is to impart that he will show us the way. And in a funny way, it's kind of like the previous card of the Fool that we used for a meditation on our Sunday broadcast. But the idea is that most of the cards tend to be various kinds of jumping on points for an exploration of things. It's usually best if you go through the tarot one at a time from the beginning, but you can do it otherwise. A lot of times you may just pick a card for insight or thought and you go with it. But we're going in order, so we want to establish that the Magician really being number one, the numerological qualities of sort of leadership, of sort of pointing the way are there. There's a relationship that is strongly with nature, but the magician is sort of the master of that. So it's sort of a paradox if you think about it, because most people in their mystical or esoteric training, they often feel that it's about living in balance with all these elements and all these qualities and discerns. And it is in a way, but there's also the idea of also knowing what truly is your role. The magician is the person who knows his role, his or her role. The magician could be a female person too. So don't be fooled by the possibility of what the gender expresses on the card. And that goes to some degree with most of the other cards, that they may have a defined gender on there. But we're in the 21st century. We're moving to 2020. And most of these concepts, they're just not quite as prevalent in everybody's lives, that we're all starting to think new. I think some astrologers think that is the age of Aquarius coming in, and that the age of Aquarius, according to at least one astrologer I know, whose post I love to read, Monty Farber, says we are in the age of Aquarius now. And so we have to move with all of those lessons. And so to that degree, the magician is kind of like, well, I guess he's really kind of like that way shower for sure. The fool maybe is a little more ambiguous, because he still is in touch with a bit more of his instinctual nature. The magician kind of acknowledges that instinctual nature, but the magician really wants to be the person to have as much mastery and rise above that as possible. But keep in mind, his wand is pointed up and down, so he is remaining in touch with the earth that we all walk on, but he is seeking what can be pulled down from the stars, from the sun, from the universe that is above us. So in a way, the magician to me could also be the perfect example of as above, so below, that there is a macrocosm that is above us, and that we are the microcosm that reflects that is a sense of that. Some of us may tend to believe in homeopathy, either as a magical principle or as a principle related to other things, perhaps herbalism. And that idea, though, is that if there is something that is the small essence of a greater thing, by having that smaller essence, you would be able to take in more of that actual defining quality into yourself. As above, so below. So we reflect a little bit of the stars above, because we are, in the end, all the stuff of stars, as what was that guy's name? Sagan, right?
Carl Sagan?
Carl Sagan, yes. I couldn't think of his first name at the moment. Thank you, my dear. But Carl Sagan often said we were the stuff of stars. We were star stuff. And so I think I would like to end this meditation right now with that idea that the magician's message is to be the star too. There is another star that will show up in the tarot deck, but this is his first sort of indication of saying you can be that too. You can achieve will and mastery in your own life. It's a little bit of a job, but we can all do that. We all have that potential. So I'd like to thank you for listening to my meditation. And if you're ready to rejoin us, if your eyes were closed, you can take 3 short, quick breaths and open your eyes and return to us. Take a moment to ground if you need that. We're going to move on to our next section.
I admit I popped out of that meditation just a little early, and it wasn't your fault. It had to do with some cat action here once again. For some reason, the cats decided to get the most active when he started his meditation. Go figure. They were bouncing off the walls in here, jumping on the cat tree that we have nearby, because they like looking out the windows.
I told them that for a change I was going to use a tarot deck with cards in it, and so they probably wanted to come over and see what it looked like. But I guess I lied. Maybe next time, Shadow.
I'm sure we'll have a visit from one or the other cat before the night is over. So that was very interesting. And I like the Magician card. It was one of my first favorite cards in the tarot. It's ironic because really it should have been the Fool for me, because the Fool, I was such a novice with the tarot. But the Magician I always gravitated to, because I love the concept of as above, so below. Just this idea of the balance and harmony of the forces of above with the forces of below. And also the fact that he had all the tools there ready at his disposal. And really, back then, I'm sure I did not have all the tools of the trade at my disposal, but I guess it was something that I aspired to be. I aspired to master the tarot.
Well, just on a slightly personal note, although at the time that I did what I'm about to tell you, I more often identified with the Page of Cups, because I was a much younger man back then. But previously, I had mentioned that an early project of mine was doing a paper that was accepted into Wayne State University's archives, the folklore archives. And for that project, I actually drew my own version of the Magician. I have minor artistic talent, and I actually use this as pretty much the template. And I think the only real differences were that the robes were green, because of course that's my favorite color. And then at that time I had pretty long hair, and so you could see that I had long hair, and I guess it looked kind of like me. I got the old nose in there correctly. Someday I'll have to see if I have my copy of that, and maybe I can show that. That might be interesting to see. Who knows? Oh, and look who's
Well,
joined us
surprise. Look who's back. That was pretty good. Maybe some energy is returning to my poor little boy. All right. Well, that was interesting. And, I've gone through phases of a lot of different favorite tarot cards. I've always glommed onto the Hermit as my significator card. And we'll talk at some point further about significators in the tarot. But right now, maybe we ought to have a little fun and do one of our games.
Oh, which game shall we play?
I'm switching it up a little bit today because I don't know how many viewers we have yet, and I would like to see maybe hold off the group reading just a little bit longer.
Alrighty.
So,
Well,
we are
keep
going to
it
do a
exciting.
group reading soon. Do you have your deck? Because I think your deck is more mixed up than mine.
Like me?
Like you.
More mixed up?
Absolutely.
And I'll just do a little bit of shuffle here. I'll do the thing that Sunny likes me to do, or maybe.
Actually, shuffle. I actually have an idea for a reading. I hate to go all over the map again, but we're going to do one card.
Do you want me to cut two?
Yes.
Alrighty. How about right here?
Yeah.
The landlord is claiming his space back.
Oh my goodness, I have no room here for the cards in him.
How many are
Okay.
you going to pull?
Well, I want to pull a card to get a feeling about what happened on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
And I think this card, what I want it to represent is, there's not a lot of good that can
right
come
here.
out of this situation, but can there be any good that comes out of this situation? What are the next steps after something tragic like this has happened? And let's just see what this tarot card will say. Oh. Yeah, well, that's okay. It needs to be said. And it's the Sun reversed. And what that tells me is that, plans and projects are not going forward. And in this situation, I'm going to say that if we are seeking change in the status quo, change in the way things are now, for example, changing existing gun laws and things of that nature, I don't think it's going to happen. Don't think it's going to happen very quickly. There's delays, there's possible failure. It seems to me that there could be disagreements. Wouldn't you
And
agree?
I agree with that mostly, but I also tend to see the sun reversed as a sign of disillumination,
Oh, yeah.
and that maybe it's suggesting that either the things you need to find out are going to be very hard to find out. Possibly, in my opinion, with the suggestion that maybe some things are being kept away from our eyes, that there is a cloudiness that has descended over some of this discussion, and that it may be very hard to exactly find out what is true and what is not, because it may be that somebody is being deliberately non-forthcoming about that.
So some of the spontaneity of the live stream is going to be sometimes things just pop into my head, and I'm sure it'll happen to you and you'll feel you kind of have to go with it. Otherwise, when there is free time, we might forget by that point.
Well, it's true, and a lot of times, for years now, I've been doing this too when I read for somebody, that I may do a standard formatted reading, but I'll be sensing or be hearing that the querent is sort of a little confused about something, or feels that there should be something more. One of the cards just doesn't exactly say what they think it should or what they would want it to say. And I'll pull over another card and do a spontaneous reading along those lines. And usually you don't find that in a specific set of instructions for formatted readings. It really just comes with being a seasoned tarot reader, that you know if it is indeed the right time to pull a card, or maybe it isn't, and maybe you just have to suggest that we restudy the cards that are already there. Usually I end up pulling the card, though. Is there another card?
Well, I think I will shuffle and cut and just ask the question related to this. Just very specifically, what is needed to move beyond the blocks, beyond the lack of knowledge or the blocked knowledge? What is needed to move forward in a constructive way in this situation? And, you know, when you ask a question like that and you get a negative card, sometimes the way through is through difficulties and hardships. So negative cards have their place in a question where you're expecting a positive outcome, or you're trying to find a positive way forward. I'll just take a moment.
No, are you going to cut and let me pull the card?
Yes.
Okay, and when I do that, just rephrase the question slightly, if you don't mind. Just do it there.
I'll do it here again. What is the way forward through the blocks, through the lack of information or the hidden information? Wow.
The Magician reversed. The Magician reverse seems to indicate to me that there is probably not a clear way to move forward, that there are some definite blockages here, and some of those are the actual will to move forward. That will could be informed by the desire to know. What I mean by that is that sometimes we don't really want to know those answers, that sometimes we may actually shut down a little bit, and that we're afraid of those answers, or we fear that those answers truthfully may be very traumatic for us to take in and believe and work from. You want to say something?
I'm just waiting for you, absolutely.
Okay.
Are you finished? Did you have anything else to add?
It could be saying, too, that maybe it's just a matter of time, that maybe this is just not the right time to be doing that maybe there is a factor that's not considered. Remember I said before that this card was, in a way, about balance, about being able to see yourself in the small and yourself reflected in the large. Maybe this is also saying that this is really more of a time to just go inward, to just look at the inward and not really possibly feel that other influences out there, that you need to just succor your own opinion, your own heart feelings about this. But I still think that the other things are possibly true too. Go on.
Why, thank you. The Magician to me, reversed is, I mean, no question what he says has validity here. I'm looking at it though, and I'm looking at the tools. And I'm thinking to myself, when the magician is reversed, that we don't have everything we need in place yet to move forward. And oftentimes, as these mass tragedies have been happening with more frequency, I'm sure we all ask ourselves the question, what is it going to take? What is it going to take to, enact changes and move out of this mess that we've created? And I think what it's going to, we aren't there yet. We don't have everything in place we need. We may not have people in our congressional districts that are really reflecting the interests of the people. We are not necessarily having things in place that we need right now to move forward on this. I sense that a lack of preparedness and a lack of, as he said, knowledge.
Oh, and I thought we were going to have a quick retreat from our table here with the sun.
I know, he almost, I thought he was going to leave.
But he did give us
not.
a slight amount more room over there towards you. So
yes, so I'm going to take advantage of it. But, let's lighten things up a bit. That was kind of disappointing. And you know what? Maybe in a few days, maybe by the next time we meet for the live stream, we'll ask this question again. And we'll just see if anything has shifted. Because everything's always shifting and changing. And the tarot is really a snapshot in time. So what it's reflecting today, there may be definitely a shift in the energies by next Sunday.
And our producer has wandered away briefly because one of the cats was just messing with some blinds by the door, making a little bit of noise in the background there, and we just need to check that out. Sometimes if another animal shows up outside there, they paw at it or seem to be excited that it's there. But apparently that is done, so we're on full speed ahead.
So I am shuffling now, and I'm thinking maybe it is time to lighten things up a little bit and do a game. And then after we spend a few moments on the game, perhaps it's time for us to do my special reading for today. So stay tuned. That will be coming up shortly. I am going to bring out the old question deck again. And we're going to work on, last time we did this on Sunday, we scattered them all around here and just picked a card from the pile. This is being made a little bit more difficult by Mr. Sun, who I don't have the heart to move right now. I want him to be by me. Tomorrow's going to be a little traumatic with a vet visit. It is not his favorite thing, even when he's feeling good. So I've mixed these up in a pile. And just to refresh memories of people who might have seen this before, I've created a question deck of various types of questions to see if the tarot, we pull one at random, and if the tarot will be able to answer the question. So I'm going to have Alan pick from anywhere in the deck, grab a question.
I'm not Alan. I'm Oberon.
Did I do that again? So much for secret identities.
Experience teaches what? I'll go first. To know my name? Oh, well.
Man, I promised myself I was not going to do that today. So much for that,
That
too.
knock on the door, is it the FBI? Are we busted?
So what was that again? Experience teaches what? Well, I'm going to pull a card. Oh. Do you want to put it up to the camera? Experience teaches, and we've got the world. And do you mind if I go first?
Go right ahead.
Well, experience teaches us how to succeed and achieve your full potential.
That was quick.
Yeah, it was pretty to the
go,
point.
You're not going to go on and on?
Well, no, I don't have to. That spoke for itself. Sometimes the cards will do that. And as we gain an audience that's willing to participate in the chat, we're hoping that, you will give us your own interpretations of what that card means to you. Just even if you don't use the tarot, what comes to your mind when you see the card of the world? You think maybe somebody has a whole world in their hands, perhaps?
Experience teaches what?
And what do you say?
The world is a vampire. Okay, never mind. But no, that is the world to some of us. And maybe Mr. Corrigan had it right all those years ago. The world chews up and spits out. You have to learn how to handle that.
Ooh.
How to really say, the world may be against me, but it's not going to stop me.
Okay, that was awesome. And that again shows the various ways when you look at a card.
Oh, we got a phone. It's Smashing Pumpkins. They want some residuals for that song lyric I sang.
Oh,
Did I really sing that? I don't know. Did I? Okay, never mind.
Oh, I just pulled a card that should be my perfect question. Do you want to read it?
I will.
It. Oh, you read it.
What changes could $1 million bring?
They may not always be good ones, remember. Some people end up losing their millions after they win the lottery, etc. Some people's relationships tank, so you never know. Let's just see. Do you want to pull this card?
I will
I'll let
pull
you
this
go
card.
first.
The Hermit.
I know
Upright.
exactly what to say about this one. I wonder if you're going to catch the drift. What changes could $1 million bring?
You probably have to be a hermit and get away from everybody because they're going to be after the $1 million. Oh, don't you remember that 3,000 you owe me? Whatever it is.
Boy, did he's. Oh, is that it? Don't you want to go further?
No, I don't. I want to start packing for the mountain because I know I'm going to win that $1 million any day now.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that because that's exactly how I felt, obviously, when I saw this card. What changes $1 million brings is a kind of, you know, if you have a lot of money and fame and fortune, it's kind of isolating at times. And you do kind of have to pull yourself back because you have all these people wanting your attention all the time. So as far as if it was just about $1 million goes, yeah, you're going to have a lot of people knocking at your door and wanting a piece of it. And so you're going to want to find your own little private cave to nestle away in. So you can make some of those decisions for yourself, those wise decisions on how best to spend your money and how best to share it with others. Because of course you should share with the world.
Well, I think that another thing about this too is that because the essence of the Hermit card is about wisdom, the ability to show it to others, that maybe that's another thing that the changes could bring is that maybe, you know, it would be such a depthful experience that you would really need to go into yourself and really meditate. Why did I get this? Am I really worthy? What should I be doing with it? And so that may bring a very big inner change as well, as you need to touch into yourself and try to realize that this meant something, and what does it mean, and what do you do from here on?
Very good.
Thank you.
Well, let's draw another. That went so well. And this time maybe we'll draw
Same question?
Nope, I think we'll do a different one. But maybe this time we will draw 2 cards just to show some of the variation. Things that
We
can
could have
come up.
everybody vote on whose meaning they like better.
Oh,
Oh, an oldie but goodie, right? There's nothing to fear except ... question mark. There's nothing to fear except what?
oh boy. And I'm drawing this one, aren't I?
I thought we were both going to draw one.
We are.
Oh,
But let's
okay.
work them one at a time. Well, I drew the 4 of Pentacles upright, which is a very interesting card. The 4 of Pentacles is a card of a person who seems to love his pentacles. He loves to hoard his money and make sure he has it on hand and it doesn't slip away. Perhaps sometimes he can be accused of holding on just a bit too tightly. So maybe this is saying there's nothing to fear except losing it all, or the fear of losing it all.
I would just comment briefly that I think that not so much as hoarding or the possible conditions that go along with that, selfishness, that maybe this also represents an insecurity too, a fear of losing things, and therefore must hold on tighter to them. And so the fear then would be, in that case, since this is about material well-being, the fear of not having that, of being
Financial ruin?
financial ruin, or losing a lot of money, or losing your home, or something like that. That would be fearful and would represent a feeling of insecurity. Okay.
Do you want
same
to draw
question.
another card for this one, or do you want to draw?
Well, that was what you thought.
Yeah, try it.
Our attitudes are often different.
Okay.
Whoops.
Yes, they are. Well,
Oh.
sometimes we agree. Sometimes we agree to disagree.
There's nothing to fear except hard work, burdens. The Ten of Wands represents a person who feels they have a lot of burdens in their lives and that they're very responsible. It's possible that some people getting this card may feel that they are literally some sort of wage slave or servant for their life, and that there's a precariousness or another form of insecurity about making sure they can handle this and really, provide or find a way to shift those burdens.
Well, I agree. In my mind, it's there's nothing to fear except more responsibility, more pressure,
Is there
more
a
stress.
frog in that picture?
Fraud?
Responsibility.
Oh, a frog. I thought you said fraud. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's just my ears.
No, we're the frauds. No, we're not.
Ah,
The fraud
here we
is
go.
not in the picture. It's on YouTube.
So look it. I think that that's what it's about, and I feel that nobody wants more work, and it's as if you feel you have just as much as you can handle on your job, when all of a sudden somebody comes along and says, "I need this now." It's nothing worse than that when you are already feeling like you are being dragged through the ringer.
Very good.
So, do you want to play a little more? You got time for a few more?
Sure.
I say yes.
We're not quite through our first hour.
Nope.
About 15 more minutes.
And I think that when we get to maybe a few more minutes, I will start my reading for today. For the week, actually. Oh, okay.
I
so
think
this
I
one-
should pull first.
Okay, absolutely.
But go ahead and read the question.
Well, this question is, the lessons of time include ... It's going to be always ... It's going to be a lot of those.
And now I will pull.
Okay.
The lessons of time include... Is that what it was?
Yeah.
The Queen of Cups, reversed. The Queen of Cups reversed tends to be definitely a personality type more so than the description of an actual person. I mean, they could coincide, but the personality type is very strong here because this tends to represent somebody... Where's the card at? I want to be able to frame it. Did you put it back?
Oh, I did.
Somebody who basically, it's often held to be somebody who maybe there's a sense of... Leave it up, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Frivolousness or they get carried away. They may prove unreliable in some respects. There may be some emotional not so much difficulties, but that they misunderstand things and then they react maybe more from their emotional component. So the lessons of time basically include slowing down enough to where you are seeing those things where you're not really rushing towards a solution that suits your emotional sensibilities more than the practical matter.
Well, the Queen of Cups is reversed. And basically, to me, this indicates that the lessons of time include coping with a lot of emotional turmoil and turbulence. And the lessons of time includes learning how to balance your emotions in time. Sometimes it takes years for people to really work out issues that they have with their emotional selves. Some people, they carry a lot of anger, or they carry a lot of hate, or they carry a lot of remorse and doom and gloom. And this is all about trying to get that in balance and perspective. And when it's reversed, it's saying to me, wow, yeah, it's going to take you years to really come unto yourself. It seems like right now you know that you have a lot to learn in that regard, and you have to go through a lot of experiences to get you there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Probably more than mine did.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not judging. We'll leave that to our audience. Please don't judge us. All right. At least don't judge us too harshly. Well, I think that's it for this game. I think it was good today as well. And, you always get something different with it. We may pull the same questions from time to time and we'll get different cards. Or we might get the same cards we've been pulling but with different questions. And how is that going to work out?
Well, another thing would be at our prompt, we could ask somebody there to just indicate that you want us to pull a card, and then we'll pull a card for you.
Yes.
And then that will be your question to us.
Well, also we will invite people to come up with their own questions such as these that we can all draw cards from, and we'd be very interested to hear your perspectives as well on these cards. Anything that comes to your mind that you are willing to share within reason, and that is not pornographic or, how should I say?
That's right. There's no TFT after hours.
Oh.
We're probably happy about that.
So basically, on Sunday, Oberon did a reading for everybody that was about your body, mind. Am I right? Body, mind, and spirit for physical, mind,
But we
and spirit.
triangulated differently. We did body, spirit, and mind.
Yes, you
if
did.
You recall. Yes.
You did. I don't think that's an issue at all. So that was his reading for the week ahead. My reading is going to be on some more basic matters, and it's going to be a 4-card reading, and we will both offer our perspectives on the cards I draw. And one of the cards will be about the business aspects of your life, maybe business, career, and finances. One will be about your health and well-being. That's actually going to be the first card. And business will be the second card. The third card is going to be love, relationships, or a family or home. And the final card is going to relate to the general perspective or a general overview of the days ahead. And keep in mind, this will be a week, so this will be from Thursday to Thursday. And for some reason, I'm having problems shuffling today.
It must be because it's my deck.
Maybe. Well, it's just like my deck, so I have my cards in order right now in case we need to refer to any particular suit or something, so you may shuffle now too, and I will let you cut them.
And remember, this is a reading for the general audience. It may apply fairly specifically to you. It may not. It may have just something of interest for most people. We hope that it does reach, inspire, and illuminate as many of you as possible.
Okay. And the first card that I'm drawing for your health and well-being for the week ahead. This could also be physical and mental well-being. And I drew the King of Wands upright. And the King of Wands upright is a really good positive growthful card. I think that as far as any kind of fitness programs or activities go, you're going to be in top form, top shape. It's a good time to start such programs. It's also a good time for any growthful activities. I don't want to say working on starting a family or anything, but I mean, that could be well aspected as well.
Well, in
What would
my
you
own
say?
personal view, as soon as you pulled that card, I said, oh, the card of somebody who gardens or farms or brings fresh food to their own table in some form and is involved in the process of having a balanced, nutritive life. So I think that's just the feeling I got intuitively that this card is saying if any of us have been contemplating trying to eat healthier, this is a good sign. We should all eat healthier. We should all eat as healthy as possible. It's not always easy, but take a moment to reflect on that. Maybe you can eat less sugar and eat a natural sugar like an orange or what's in season now? Maybe peaches or nectarines? I'm not sure, but go to your local grocery store and pick up some fruit, some vegetables.
As I admit to binge eating today and badly. Okay. Card number 2 is going to be with business, career, and finance, which is interesting to me. Well, and it's the Knight of Swords reversed.
Oh, we're going to have a lot of court cards?
We're going to have a lot of court cards today. I don't know why. This is your deck.
Oh.
I don't know why they all are popping up for us.
And they're all manly.
Well, relatively speaking. I try not to assign gender too much anymore, but the characteristics of the card. And the Knight of Swords reversed. You want to start that one?
Okay, I'll start this one. The Knight of Swords reversed. What is the field?
It is business, career, and
Okay.
finance.
Yes, I kind of had a feeling that. For those of us who may be in business or are moving business along or are trying to be in business, this is saying to me, take your time to the degree that you can. Don't be too pushy or too rushy. If you're like really stomping on a new promotion or situation, sometimes being overeager and really showing that won't necessarily work to your advantage at the interview stage. Likewise, I suppose if you're already gainfully employed and you're about to begin maybe some particular new project, because swords or knights usually represent moving into something new of some sort. And this is just saying that be clear on how you're doing that, because there may be some possible, I don't want to say destructive, but some sort of negative edges to how you might go about that the perception of rushing into it might also say not prepared for it too. So be as prepared as possible. Do your steps in a measured, thoughtful way.
I'm going to appeal to our producer now that our cat is on our table in the kitchen and maybe shouldn't be.
There's nothing there.
Is there nothing there?
Nope.
Okay. Well, just to be sure, because we did have dinner and I was afraid there was something for him to nibble
No, I
on.
left everything where it would not be
Or her.
reachable.
I thank you, producer. Okay, so the third, I didn't say anything about this card yet. And what I would like to say as far as business and finance goes is be careful not to rush into anything prematurely. Do due diligence, like in particular finance or investment decisions. Don't take somebody's word for something. Really, maybe take a step back and do some research. It shows maybe an impulsive action to me might prove harmful at this time. So I would be a little bit cautious in the area of your career, finances, and business with this card here. Card number 3 is love, relationships, family, home matters. Oh, Well, we couldn't ask for better than that. So since the business front doesn't look too well, my advice is stay home. Stay home for a week if you can.
Is that your reading?
But no.
Okay.
I'll go first, though. Yeah, you're right. You went first last time. This is a lot of harmony and happiness surrounding the home. The Four of Wands. The Four of Wands is a card of happiness and harmony. I'm sorry, I kind of had a brain freeze there, and I don't know why, because actually for a long time I found this to be a very favored card of mine. It's a lot of success, and it's like a family affair too, in a way. It's not like the Ten of Cups, but it's close to that in that there's a lot of family harmony and celebration going on. It could even be, I think, is this card also considered like a card of a wedding or
To some degree, yeah, I think it is there. I consider it myself like kind of like the harvest home celebration. So it might have something to do with harvest festivals or, county fair, state fairs. It might be saying that there are things in your home environment that are going to be really fun things to do. They may relate to celebrations involving other people and the happiness that you share with them. And we have a semi-naughty cat who the producer will probably spank. No, we don't spank cats in this house.
No, we do not. But I have to tell you that maybe we'll just take a quick pause here to tell you that our cats are on a little bit of a diet right now. And even though I gave them part of their meal earlier, they're getting a little antsy for the second part of their meal now. And Shadow, or should I call her Shadow, has found where we are keeping the bowls and was trying to jump up for hers. But she can wait a little longer. She is not starving. And as you'll be able to see if she stays in camera here. But no, she's not.
Be careful what you think.
Be careful, Shadow. Please don't knock down our live stream. That would be very bad.
I can just hear her now. Not going to feed me? Oh, well.
Her tail is going through the screen. That's awesome.
And she jumps and the whole table lurches.
So we're sorry for some of
that.
if there's some bouncing and different things happening here. I just saw that on my camera, or on my screen. That's hilarious. There's going to be little disruptions like this, and we apologize. This is our best place to do this live stream, and the cats have always owned this table for a long time. And as a matter of fact, all the times when I'm reading cards for myself at this table, there's at least two of them usually on the table with me, and sometimes all three. So it can be pretty crazy around here. So at any rate, did you have anything else to add about this particular card?
No, I think I expressed that pretty well. I'd say
Okay.
that there's just some summery, end of summer kind of celebrations. Looking ahead into September, this is also a month where a number of people may get married. You may find that you will be drawn to a celebration of that caliber, or just saying goodbye in a good way to the summer and looking ahead to the next phase of the seasons. And maybe it's time to put down her ball.
You know what it could mean as well? Well, you might have to put Sassy's down too. Why don't you make sure Sassy comes and feed them both? Sassy's has the least
They're in
in it.
alphabetical order starting from the left. So Shadow is the second one. So now you see how we feed them too.
Well, this is per our vet's
It's not that
suggestion.
exciting.
It's really kind of difficult. We have to make sure they don't cheat and eat from each other's bowl because we're trying to keep them regimented. And it's for their own good. We really have one who's really
I
overweight.
like your use of the word regimented.
Well, it is. And it's really a hardship on the owners here because the onus is on us to keep them honest. And I'll tell you, it does take work. And so we can only feed them when we're home. And so we have to lay them down several times
I'm
in
going
the
to write a
morning
new
and night.
poem. The Ode to the Honest Onus.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not. So just to recap, because we've been distracted here, we had the King of Wands upright for your health and well-being, very growthful card, and as Oberon suggested, maybe bring in some more fresh food and fruits into your life. If you garden, there's good aspects for that. And I just feel that it is a very growthful time right now, and a good time perhaps to even get more active. And then we had in the business realm, we had the Knight of Swords reversed. So I've said, and it's business finance situations. So I suggested that maybe you should slow down before you make any really heady decisions in your business or financial affairs. Don't do anything too rashly because it could come back to haunt you.
Be prepared.
And be prepared was Mr. O's comment on that one. And our final card was the Love, Relationships, Family, and Home. And for that one, we have a real celebration looming here. We have either a wedding or it's just really good times at home with family, a closeness, just a lot of goodwill and good feelings amongst family members.
Maybe some of you out there are ready to tie the knot or to become engaged or to further a relationship. So this could be a good sign for that as well.
Yeah. And so now the last card is going to be, we could say maybe a general overview, or maybe it will come out that I will say that this is something that you should focus on in the week ahead. I'm kind of keeping this one just a little open-ended, but it's kind of a broad overview of the week ahead. And that card is not a happy card to end with, but I will say that it's reversed. And I don't know, do we have any disagreement of how it shows up? Oh, I'm sorry, it is the Five of Pentacles card. I keep forgetting to tell you what card it is. The Five of Pentacles reversed. And basically, it's a card that's talking about, when it's upright, it's talking about the dark night of the soul and poverty and possible ill health, not good things. I always feel it's better in reverse. Not to say that it's a really great card either way. Let me just qualify that. And so what I think it's indicating to me is that you're focusing right now on maybe recovering from some situation of some sort. Or maybe that's what this week ahead will be, recovering from some traumas or disappointments, etc. Maybe recovering from the shock of last weekend for all we know. It is kind of coming back, but it can be slow. It can be slow. So that's why it's good to also see that there is some family things going on that are of a positive nature. Maybe that will help support you on your way to recovery.
Well, I think that the reverse Five of Pentacles could also represent that maybe now is the time that some things that have been eluding you, that some peace of mind that you haven't been able to find or that you've had to put off actually finding because you really needed to do more physical things, more physical improvement. This time may come to you now that maybe you will see that there actually always was hope and help for you. You just were kind of over involved in what was besetting you to see that. And now you may be able to move forward. Perhaps somebody who's been trying to get some words of advice or solace to you has suddenly found their moment with you, or maybe that's something you found with your inner self and you were able to access that feeling and that sense that you're not alone, you're not totally alone, and that there are things that you can do, that you can find the light or what is missing in your life. That's the Five of Pentacles reversed.
And that concludes your 4-card reading for the week ahead. So I hope you've enjoyed that and you'll get something out of that. But stay tuned to our Tarot for Tomorrow Facebook posts, because maybe the cards that you receive on a given day will play into these readings that we're giving you, these weekly readings that we are giving you.
You can also leave us a message at our Facebook inbox. Several people have already done that, and we've actually just went ahead and responded and felt it was within our ability to give them a quick 1-card reading and advise them. So that's something to just go to the Facebook page, TFT, Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with Oberon and Banshee. Probably if you put in TFT, Tarot for Today, it'll probably take you there.
Right. It's facebook.com at TFT Tarot for Today.
And now we are apparently into our second and final hour, just a few minutes in, so we may be shifting gears here a little bit. What do you think?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to do is discuss questions.
Oh,
I have questions. You
that
have
was kind
questions.
of a question.
Yes.
Oh.
Our audience has questions. So, but when you're asking the tarot, what kind of questions should you ask? You know, we get some interesting questions from time to time. And some of the hardest questions to ask, I would say, or answer, I would say, is something like, am I going to die? Am I deathly ill? Do I have some major illness of some sort?
Health questions are a big part of what a tarot or fortune reader do, but I actually think that probably 50% or the most often asked questions are usually about love and relationships.
That is true.
That is probably singly the most sought after question. And I don't know if there's a demographic thing there. In my experience, just to generalize, it did seem more likely that women were more likely asking that question than men. Maybe in my experience by 2 to 1. So for every 2 women asking that, there was only 1 maybe. And over the years it varies. But I think that is a big, important question people ask. But I also think almost right behind that are the dual questions of, how am I? How is my health? Or why is this thing bother me? And then the other question would be, am I going to find a good job? Am I going to be okay financially? Things like that. So in no particular order, probably love and relationships at the top, actually. And then questions about physical well-being and questions about financial well-being.
Well, you put a serious burden on tarot readers like ourselves by asking really pointed questions about your health. And, we are not doctors. We cannot diagnose you, and nor should we. And, I would always recommend to everybody to seek out, number one, if you are asking me if you are gravely ill, if there's something seriously wrong with you, my first question I think to you would be is, do you think you should be asking that question of a doctor, or perhaps telling him why you feel this way about yourself? Because that is where you should start.
But let's unpack that for a moment. Why do people feel more comfortable asking somebody who is not trained medically about such a condition, and why are they maybe opposed or afraid or insecure about actually going to the person who should answer that question?
Are you asking me, or do you have an
Well, I think this will be a
answer for
discussion,
that?
and I think what it is that we have a society now where a lot of things do seem to be gate kept. And to some degree, medical is probably one of the most gate kept things too. Some people don't feel that they have a regular doctor they can ask those questions of. Many people, due to their healthcare situations, do not have somebody trustworthy that they can ask. And maybe to some degree, questions of certain natures are embarrassing to them. They claim that there are always certain questions that men don't want to answer to a male doctor or a female doctor, and vice versa, that women may not want to answer to a certain doctor either. Those are very interesting, because why indeed would they feel that a non-trained medical person would be able to answer them? And I suppose if I were to answer that, I would say there is a sense of a trust that is given when somebody enters into a relationship with a tarot reader. We are there to make you feel comfortable. We are there to make you feel like you can ask questions, but we do think you should keep in mind that the nature of your questions may indicate there is a limitation to what we legally or ethically can provide for you.
That's true. And I do feel that the tarot, being a snapshot in time, may indicate something at a given moment, but again, that could shift and change. And so we may not be giving you the full picture that you need to hear, from a medical practitioner that you really need to hear. However, there are psychics who are medical intuitives, and medical intuitives have, the ability to assess a body, those psychic vibrations, the energies surrounding your body, your aura. There's various ways that they read you. And but even with that, would you just trust a medical intuitive? You would of course go to your doctor and your physician. So I would say to you that yes, if you have concerns, ask about particular things about your body. We may through the cards be able to indicate that something's going, maybe if you're having a concern, is your gastrointestinal system? Is it in your as a matter of fact, as an example of that, I went to a reader once who was reading my new favorite obsession, the Lenormand cards. And in the Lenormand cards, I was talking to her and I said, do you see any health concerns? I kept it very broad and general, my question. I had some health concerns that I was concerned about, but I kept that to myself. I wanted to see if she saw any of them. And she did pick up on an area that was a concern of mine at the time. And how she did it was the placement of a particular card called the snake card. And the snake, of course, made her think of the gastrointestinal system, and it rules the gastrointestinal system because it winds around like your intestines. And of course, that was an issue of my concern at the time, and so she did see that. But would I trust her to tell me any more than that? No. I would feel that I was at least validated in my thinking, and of course, keep on with my health regime and going to my physician. So there's use for this in the tarot, and I have to tell you, I've come from old school style of readings with regular decks of fortune cards, very gypsy-oriented kind of cards that would get into these matters. But we have to be very careful today because you don't want to send people off on the wrong path, and you don't want to make people so nervous and afraid that they might do something to harm themselves because they're fearful, maybe they fear they have some chronic disease and may want to commit suicide or do something horrible. So we take this with the utmost responsibility when we read these kind of questions we answer these kind of questions for people, and we know our role, in relation to the role of healthcare providers. We're here to guide you, but we are not here to offer you medical advice.
The best medical advice we could offer would be, if you are really concerned, you should go see your doctor.
Yes.
Now, this
relationship questions. Oh, do you want to talk about this more? I'm sorry.
Just a little bit. This reminded me of, and I've had this incident a few times, but the worst case was one, a good 20 some years ago, and it was a person whose acquaintance we're no longer with, but I won't get into that part. But they were a couple, and the woman was expecting their child. And for some reason, she had went to another card reader who just went all drama on him. Oh, your child's going to have a severe birth defect, and this child is probably not going to live. And the way it was described to me was like, it was just incredibly horrid. And I think that brings up the situation that we've recently encountered where we understand that to some degree at some of the more popular kind of new wavy psychic events that some readers are being told or advised to be very careful on how they work with ill health or possible deaths that they might see. This was a little bit like that because literally the couple was so scared now, and they knew that I had been a tarot reader for many years at that time, over 20, and I read the cards, and of course I didn't see anything like that. And I just talked to the woman, especially in the most calming tones I could, and explained each and every card to indicate there was nothing there that I saw. The good news is that after a few months, several months later, their child was born, and there was absolutely no health problems, no genetic problems, which I believe that was what the other reader was inferring. And I think there's a tendency in some parts of the fortune telling and tarot reading world that doesn't take it serious enough and just thinks, I'm just entertaining you and I'm going to entertain you like we're watching a slasher movie or something really, outrageous.
So they
And
just go for the outrageous or the yeah,
there's a word I'm
high
looking for.
drama.
High drama. That works, yeah. So, but let's move on to the other part.
Well, actually,
Okay.
you made me think of something else that you would love to talk about. Now, here's a fun question that those who are expecting can ask tarot readers. If you haven't taken the ultrasound to check it out, am I going to have a boy or am I going to have a girl? And
Ah,
guess who used to do that pretty accurately?
that would be
Mr.
me.
O.
That would be me. I had my own method of doing this. It was kind of a variation on the typical yes no with three aces spread, which we may do at some point for you. But basically, I did that for a number of people because back around the time that we ourselves were having a child, uh, there were a number of my cousins or siblings who were also having children too. And so I was pretty popular back then. Everybody would say, oh, tell me what I'm going to have. And I was right about 80% of the time. And I remember there was a first cousin or two who still remember this years later. I ran into her at some other event and she just reminded me, and I had actually forgotten about that. Because basically, once we moved on a few years, most of the people in our own age group were no longer having children, so nobody really cared to know that. So perhaps it's time for a new generation to be astounded with my pregnancy prognostication skills.
Yeah, so,
Or not.
any of our viewers who are expecting, he would just welcome the chance to try to predict your child's gender.
It's a non-money back guarantee.
And now I know also in this world today that some people don't want to assign gender, which could complicate things a little bit with your.
We got a deck for that. We have a deck for that.
So,
You're going to have some sort of
a
critter.
doctor
You're going to have a doctor. Yeah.
or a lawyer. Maybe we could find another spin on that. I hadn't thought of that prospect. But at any rate, the interesting thing about this story is that he is so good. Of course, he predicted the sex of our child, which I got horribly wrong right from the get-go. But mine wasn't because of tarot readings to interpret it. I actually went by one of my wacky pregnancy dreams, and I dreamt I had this baby girl duck that was going to be born. And I said, oh, it's a girl. It was a girl. Okay, it was a duck, but it was a girl. So, pregnant women have really wacky, crazy dreams during their pregnancy. And I just assumed that, yeah, for sure, this
But you know what?
was going to be a girl.
If we had had a duck, it would have made naming so much easier. It's like Daffy or Donald. Oh well.
No. And if he had a mouse, it could have been Mickey or Minnie if I had dreamt of a mouse.
Could have been Mighty.
Oh, yeah, I do think he would have preferred that. Yes.
There you go.
So, yes, on to relationship questions. Now, often we get questions like, well, will my relationship last forever? Or will
We had that once.
we live happily ever after? And, I mean, happily ever after is an awfully long time. I'm just saying. And in this day and age today, with the way relationships go, some are lucky to last a month or a year. So,
Well, maybe it's time to just talk about, in general, the particular, and we mentioned this a little bit in our first show, but tarot is not an absolute. When we read the cards and we say, oh, it doesn't mean it's absolutely going to happen. Tarot is about possibilities and trends. When we read the tarot cards, we see the energies or situations that are rising, but we're giving you that knowledge, and that knowledge gives you the ability to say, I'd rather not have that. Maybe I should do choice B instead of A, or whatever that means. But the idea that certain forms of fortune telling are absolutes is strictly Hollywood gypsy stuff. And we're not about that, and any reputable tarot reader or fortune reader should not be about that. It kind of goes back to the example I gave a moment ago about the young mother who was scared that her child was going to have a genetic abnormality because of the reader she went to. Just not good to do that.
Well, I just wanted to touch back on the relationship thing just a little bit because, when you ask a question like that, like the ones that I mentioned, maybe the better question to ask, and sometimes, we really do try to guide readers into finding out what they're seeking and maybe a better way to help formulate your question. So a better question might ask is, what can I do, or what can I do to ensure longevity in my relationship? How can I ensure that this relationship is the one for me, rather than, so directly, is it the one for you? Because what if we tell you no, absolute no? What would you think about that? Would you give up trying? Would you try harder? So I would say try to avoid the absolutes and go for something more with some room for growth, either way, one way or another. We may tell you in the end that things are looking pretty bad, but usually when we do that, we usually can tell you some possible things that you could do to correct that. Because as we've said, the tarot is a snapshot in time, and it's up to you to create your own future.
Right. Tarot cards are not a beginning and an arrival. They are about the journey, what happens on the journey and what choices that may offer to you. The choice of not being stabbed in the back is a good choice. But actually, in a reading, this would indicate that somebody has been able to avoid perhaps gruesome fate, or certainly deal with forces that are arrayed against you. That's what the reverse Ten of Swords is. But just to go back to that point, though, a lot of people in our society tend to think of beginning, end, this, then that. And there's so much in between. And tarot can be a tapestry of what those things are in between. So people like the Banshee and myself, but especially her, read daily and often. And many of the other card readers I know read often too. And some people say, oh, well, doesn't the one reading negate the other reading? Not really, because like Banshee said, each reading is a snapshot in time. And that once you've done a reading and you thought about it for a couple minutes, you now have an information that maybe will change your whole perspective, that if you went and did that reading again, something different would show up. Remember in the first broadcast I said that for some reason that we don't understand, the shuffling of the tarot cards, the reading of the tarot cards employs a lot of parts of your subconscious brain that somehow we are just given to believe. Go ahead out there, laugh, you skeptics. But that somehow your hands, your brain just know how to subconsciously put the cards together to where they need to be. And that reader knows what to do with them once they do that.
Well, and the thing is that, we don't want you to walk away feeling defeated, even if the chips look like they're down, because with the knowledge, you have the ability to change your fate, change your future. And so I do think the questions that you ask and how you ask them are very important. And I'm sure we can touch on this topic sometime again in the future. There was something else I was thinking of, but as you went on, I totally lost my train of thought.
Well,
it's
I'm
not
just
your
going to
fault
channel
at all.
this inner wisdom I felt at the moment based on what you just said.
Yeah.
I'm having a Jeff Goldblum moment. Change your apartment, change your future. Okay, maybe not that, but
I'm left silent on that one. I just don't
yes.
even know what to
Just don't
add.
slowly move away from me and look nervous. We'll be good then.
As she moves off camera. So, but don't get all hung up on this. Don't be afraid now to ask any question, by all means. I know what I was going to say. See, I babbled and shuffled the cards long enough to think about this, but basically, I do read all the time. I read every day. But you know what? If I ask the same question and let's say I'm doing several readings a day, and a lot of times it's just to focus myself on the cards and and just practice reading the various positions. But if I do the readings that I do for myself every day, I'm not going to be asking the same question more than once. I mean, that's crazy. And also, if you go to tarot readers and advisors and you ask a question, and then you go the next week to another tarot reader and you ask the same question, and you go the next week to another tarot reader and you ask the same question, well, my goodness, do you have time to play out any of the knowledge that you received from the previous readings?
And this reminds me of a person we used to know quite well way back in the day. This person actually got me into a short stint of reading tarot cards live on FM radio. And then this person also got us into their friend's hair salon to be a side item, like, oh, waiting for your haircut. Well, here, Oberon and Banshee will read your cards too. But this person, I did a lot of personal readings for, and I eventually realized they just had something going on. I'm not going to say they were emotionally disturbed or anything like that, but they constantly kept asking the same question over and over and in different ways. And it was very kind of needy and frantic. And I would do 5 or 6 of these readings and be very frustrated that it just didn't seem to be satisfying them. It was probably before I had fully embraced the idea that, as I said, there was something else going on. So this kind of ties in a little bit to what you're saying too, is that although it is okay to rephrase the question, look at it, there is a sense when you really are just pushing it too much. Tarot is not a panacea in that respect. And in fact, the idea that you feel empowered to be this way with your reader is a little bit disrespectful, because you should buy into the idea that they are doing the best for you that they can, and that no amount of going over and over and over what would be considered settled, situation is really going to provide an answer you want. Maybe they were actually just that needy that they needed that much attention. A good tarot reader figures that out, and then whether they can figure out how to deal with that is another question. Tips on that?
Well, no.
I've given you a lot to think about.
You've given me a lot to think about. I did have a question for you, but again, I lost it in your your interesting answer there.
Well, whenever I say you've given me a lot to think about, it really means I don't really know what to say.
And as I got you to talk further, it popped back into my head. So let me ask you. So what do you think is appropriate? Let's say somebody has some ongoing issue and they've asked a question. What is kind of the time period they should do a check-in on it? What do you think? Is there any set
Are you saying
rule?
that they want to do pretty much the same question again?
Right. Is there any
Are we
set rule
talking
on
about
that?
a reading that's a little bit more than a few cards?
Sure. Let's say
and then
you're
when
doing
can you do that again?
the Celtic cross or whatever on that. Yeah. So
Well, I would say that at least a couple of days, 2 to 3 days.
Really? So
but maybe up to a week.
Yeah, I would say a week. I would probably say a week. And if you're going to professional readers and you're getting readings even weekly, that's a lot of money, number one. And number two, I just don't think that's the right way to go. If I go to a professional reader for a reading, I tend to go monthly at the most, and maybe less than that. It depends. If you're having a real long reading, like the Grand Tableau in the Lenormand, which is all 36 cards in the deck, you probably don't want to do that one, but once a year with an experienced reader. But other shorter readings, sure, you could do that more frequently.
Well, we are now just about to enter into our final quarter of our session, actually, the last half hour. So it may be time to begin considering what we're going to do to fill out the rest of our agenda and any other readings or thoughts.
Well, I thought that maybe we would, we have enough, we don't have anybody in our audience who wants a reading, so I think that if that comes up, we can be open to that now. But if not, I also have something that I might be willing to review tonight.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do.
I think I saw that on the agenda.
Yes. Yeah, but it was not actually there what I wanted to review. And I'm going to grab it real quick pull myself away from my seat. Come back here.
And I will remove my cards for now, at least. We'll put them over there.
Well, I have just recently acquired a new Lenormand Oracle card deck, and it's called the Pagan Lenormand deck. And so it's got some very mystical overtures to it, but it is a traditional Lenormand deck with the symbology. They have all the usual things there, I believe, with maybe a couple variations. This deck is by Gina M. Pace with artwork by Franco Rivoli, and it is a low Scarabeo deck, which is available through Llewellyn, and you can get it on Amazon, I'm sure. And what I like about this deck is it holds true to, I guess, a lot of pagan symbology, mystical symbology, and the Lenormand. I think it combines it really well. And I'm just going to show a few of the decks. I'm not going to go through all 36. So I'm going to pull them out here. And oh, also, this is an interesting topic as well. I don't have all of them here, but this deck also gave extra cards. So that may be a little bit more ambiguous with gender and sexuality and also nationality, ethnic things. More and more decks are doing this. I have 2 cards in this deck already to represent the male and female reading, significators in the Lenormand. But they've given you the choice of 2 now for each, for man and woman to represent. So everybody is thinking about this more, these issues more, and being more inclusive. And
hello,
I like
Yazzie. Hello there. How are you? And you are calling us from the UK.
Awesome.
So we really appreciate you joining us.
Welcome.
Is there any question you'd like to ask, or do you want us just to do a simple 1-card reading for you? We could do that. I'll interrupt her review, or maybe she'll use the cards for the review.
Well, I think we'll go with the tarot tonight, but I'm going to pull out some cards while you
It's
converse
Banshee,
with
right? Banshee Yazd. Am I saying that correctly? Yes, go ahead. Feel free to ask a question. Thank you. And we'll wait for that.
And I'm just going to pull out a few cards of note while we're waiting.
It's so nice. You're our first international visitor. We hope you'll come back again. We hope you'll tell other people if you like the reading.
And you like our banter?
And our kitty cats.
You may.
Well, they're not really kitties, they're cats.
I don't know if you joined us earlier, but we've announced our little cat here's under the weather, so we're letting him stay here tonight to be by us. He has a visit with the vet tomorrow. We're hoping for the best. He's in good shape generally. He just has a little stomach disturbance. And I'm feeling sorry for him, so he can stay today.
And we hope you're typing out that question for us right now.
All right.
I know it's a long ways over the big pond, as they say.
Well, and while she's doing that, I'm going to talk on about this.
We don't know the gender.
This deck. The Lenormand deck is a deck of 36 cards, and they generally have a lot of, how should I say this, symbols that are from our everyday lives, For example, they have some animals that everybody can recognize. They have some things from nature. They have things, objects that we use every day or are part of our lives. And so they're symbols for various aspects of our life. And I like this deck because it does talk about the pagan symbology as well as the symbology of the Lenormand itself. Let's take this.
Okay, we have our question.
We do? Okay,
yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to read your question aloud. We love cats too, Veshi, thank you. Will myself, who is a Pisces, and my Gemini get back together? Both males here in this situation, and he broke up with me, but I've never been heartbroken in my life, and we still do talk. So if I'm understanding that correctly, you feel that you're still friends, but you're wondering if you would get back together. Okay.
Why don't you grab your cards and let's shuffle and draw one.
First of all, once again, I want to say thank you very much, Veshi, for writing to us. And we appreciate your question, and we hope we can find a good answer for you. I'm going to attune to you. Now, of course, it's just me making maybe an educated guess, or possibly I'm feeling the vibe, but I would say that you, Pisces, and your friend Gemini are probably more on the younger side. Maybe you're on average closer to around 30, perhaps. Did you want to help me with this one?
I will.
Okay. And I'll let you pull that.
Oh,
Well, this would seem to be good advice for anyone, but certainly perhaps in your situation.
do you want to go first?
Yes, I'm going to go first. What we have pulled for you, okay, so I see that you're a little bit older than him, but it's not a huge difference. You were the one that's closer to 30. This is the Eight of Pentacles.
No, it's a 7.
I'm
Oh,
sorry, you're right, it's the 7.
Sorry about that.
I'm sorry, you're the 7. And what I sense here is that there's probably a pause right now more than anything, and that maybe there's a pause in the situation. You mentioned that you're sort of not together. It doesn't sound like it was a horrible fallout to me, but what I'm sensing here, Veshi, is that this is a moment for you not to pause too long, that maybe there is work you can do to bring this further along. The question implied here is that it's a gardener who's sitting there and he's kind of taking in what he has produced so far, but he hasn't really decided to take it further. And so maybe there's a sense here that one or both of you in the relationship wanted it to go further. Maybe the other wasn't understanding that, or maybe the other doesn't agree with that. I'm going to let Banshee rein in here, and then I think we might pull another card for this.
Well, I feel that the 7 of Pentacles shows I think your concerns and worries for certain. And yeah, I do think we're going to need another card to clarify this a little bit more. There's worry and concern on somebody's part here that they put in a lot of time and effort and maybe their heart into something that's been very important to them, and they're waiting now to see, they're worried that maybe they haven't done enough, or that maybe something has been left undone, that something more needs to be done to pull everything together. It is a concern, and it looks as though you've done a lot of what you could do to keep things going. So let's see, do you want to just pull from the top?
Go ahead.
Well, that's a positive sign, the 2
There's
of...
a positive sign for you that clarifies perhaps where we think the direction should go. This card is the upright 2 of Wands. And as you can see, it looks like a person standing in their noble home looking out to sea, holding a small miniature globe or world in their hands. Go ahead, Banshee.
Well, and basically, I do think that maybe this is indicative to me that it's still going to take a little time, but he is looking off in the distance for things to maybe come to fruition. I think it is definitely a positive sign also that we drew for you the 2, because of course 2 being a couple, partner, that maybe this is a sign that things could be on the mend. However, I don't think it's going to be immediate. I feel it is still going to take some time and effort on your part, because the Wands are also about effort and creative maybe solutions to problems.
I don't totally agree with Banshee
Really?
here. I sort of feel that it is coming sooner than later. I don't
Okay.
think it is immediate. I would agree with her on that respect. But to me, this is sort of the sense of somebody who knows that in time things go the way they should. And so I think that this is probably more your attitude, perhaps. So it may be that you will have to do a little more work to see the fruition, as I've mentioned with the 8 of Pentacles. but that your investment, and that's really what I get out of this, the Two of Wands is the card of an investment that is matured and will come back. So I do feel that in the course of things, it is more likely than not that your relationship will resume. I hope that it does, if that's what both of you want.
And again, this is a Seven of Pentacles, and I think that that's all right. And I think that, don't dwell on your worries and the stress of the situation. Work towards resolution and work towards this positive outcome. Don't over worry and overthink it.
I hope that worked for you.
Well, again, just
check
showing...
in with us again soon and tell us how things are going.
Yes, absolutely. And if you want, another brief reading, we're doing brief readings online for our viewing audience, as well as group readings. He does a special reading on Sundays, and I do one every Thursday. So, and also if you go to our Facebook page at Tarot for Today, at TFT.
You are very welcome.
At TFT Tarot for Today, we do Tarot for Tomorrow there, and we do for you, he's distracting me. We do for you daily readings, but we do them the night before for the next day, so that you are prepared for the energies that may face you in the day ahead.
Veshi, I just want to share something. I'm reading a little fantasy novel right now, and it's about a woman who broke up with her fiance, and she's about to meet somebody who's really a better person for her. But she's just remarked how it's been a month, and she's just never imagined that it would have gone on that long, and it seemed like, the hardest thing for her. But in retrospect, when things work out better, you'll realize that 4 weeks was not really entirely too long, and things will be better. I'm pretty sure they will.
There are positive signs of that.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, back to, I don't want to digress at all, but I'm just going to go back to the Lenormand a little bit and talk about this deck. The reason I like it is, and as you know, with tarot cards and a lot of divination decks, they cover almost every interest. So if you're into the pagan life and that kind of life, this deck could be for you. And if you like the Lenormand and this type of fortune-telling system, please show some of those cards there. Right now he is showing the Star card. And the Star card is just really awesome. I love the way that people are laying on the ground, looking at the stars, and do notice that the people on the ground are dressed in the colors of the 4 elements, which I think is very nice touch to these cards as well. And what card are you showing now?
It looks like it's the 10.
Can I see the, I do know, yes, it's the bear. The bear card is number 15. And, but it is right, the 10 of clubs or something. Mm-hmm. Yes. Also, the Lenormand is tied into the regular deck of playing cards, so they do include those on top of, in most decks, you see a playing card image superimposed on the image of the deck. I like the way the bear is being channeled, and again, very awesome symbology here. The other thing I wanted to show was the... Card number 22 is the Path. And in typical fashion, there you have it. It looks like people are going to be setting off and possibly on different paths that are available for them to take. The Path card sometimes has some negative connotations in the Lenormand because it talks about choices and decisions and maybe the difficulties and the stresses of having to make those choices. But also I look at the Path card as, this gives you options and alternatives and ways out. And I really like that card for that reason. I think it shows possibilities and that you are not stuck in your path. You have an out somehow, some way. So again, I just find, and here again, okay, now this is the male and female. I chose the other two that are in the deck just to show you how they are covering their bases now, and they're putting in different ethnicities, some things that may have ambiguous sexuality, some that are younger images, some that are older images. They're really trying to cover people so that they feel more comfortable and represented in the decks. So I do think this is a nice deck. And like I said, on this show, when I review materials, I have a lot of stuff. But I'm not going to waste your time with reviews that are negative. I'm going to only review things that I think have some that I like and that I think might be of interest to you, the viewers. I am not going to just dog decks here and say bad things about that stuff, because oftentimes, even in some of the decks that I use the least and maybe don't find a lot of value in, there is something there. There is something there in all of them that gives me some piece of knowledge that I didn't have before.
And
Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have picked it up.
And there was one other card I didn't show yet, so I'm going to show that now.
Oh, the tree.
The
And
tree.
notice how the people are doing a working there on a tree as well. And I just feel that that's just another awesome pagan image right there. The tree is about health and possibly even roots and family connections and things of that nature. So it's how rooted are you? And I just think that some of these cards are very evocative to me. And the mice, okay, you can show one of the more negative cards in the Lenormand, the mice. The mice means that things are dwindling. There might be health issues, some like sick spells and things like that. And look at the mice. They just want to tear into everything you have laying out there,
What comes
ready
after
for them
mice?
to take.
Mice turds.
Oh, no.
Mice turds.
And our cat is here to go after the mice as well. Well, anything you want to add or talk about yourself? I have a question for you.
Oh, you do? Well, I was just going to say we are down to our last 15 minutes, and
Okay.
I noticed that there may be another person or two hovering around in our chat room. So if you have not asked a question, why don't you go ahead and do that? Or plan on tuning in on Sunday, perhaps, and
We would
do
happily
it again.
spend more time answering your questions. And by the way, for those of you joining us, Sunday we will be coming to you live again at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. And so join us. We'll be doing it from 2 to 4 on Sundays and from 7 to 9 Thursdays.
Also, before you ask the question, and every night there will be a card pulled for the following day, a tarot for tomorrow, and both of us will weigh in with a few sentences on what we feel that card means for perhaps most of us. But once again, it's not necessarily clear that it is that. We just give that reading hoping that it gives some advice or balance or oomph or spirit for your day.
Well, and also, we have set up a Twitter page, but, well, I have to say that tweeting is very new to both of us. We haven't done a lot of that, so we're going to be it's baby steps, but we're getting there. I'm hoping to be putting out a lot more tweets soon, I promise. And you would think I would like the concept of tweeting because I like to write haiku, which is very short poetry. So you would think tweeting would be made for me. But I don't know. We'll
Why
see.
don't you ask me your question? Do you still remember
Well,
that?
I did have a question for you, and I was wondering if you could share with viewers. Do you have a favorite tarot author?
Yes, I do. I probably have several, but the one who I'm really very stoked on is Mr. Paul Hewson, who is also well known in the general occult field. He's done Mastering Herbalism. He's done Mastering Witchcraft. That was probably one of his seminal works. I love his works to pieces. He's also done a book more recently, the last 6, 7, 8 years, The Mystical Origins of the Tarot. But the Devil's Picture book was kind of his first take on that subject. And what he really does is he explodes the history of most of the cards, certainly the major arcana, where he really gives you so much depth to the mythos, the various mythos of concepts, beings, deities, etc., that go into the background and formulation of each tarot card. It's a stunning work. I think he's done more of that with the mystical origins. He's just an amazing artist too, as well as an author. And I'm happy that he's also on my Facebook. That's Paul Hewson, Huson. Great artist.
And his books are still in press and
They are
publication.
mostly in press. I'm not sure about the Devil's Picture book, but Mastering Witchcraft is always in press. And, Mastering Witchcraft is kind of like that book that has the corollary to all the kids that ran home to see Dark Shadows. This was the book that everybody started with first. And although it went through a little period of, maybe like, we don't know about this, it's kind of come back into the mode of being considered a good, favorable book. I wish the Devil's Picture book would come back a little bit more into vogue, because it really is an amazing book on tarot cards.
This is the second time I've let you get Dark Shadows into the live stream.
Thank you, Veshi, for sharing us. We appreciate that very much.
So I have some tarot readers of interest too. Do we have a few minutes yet? Yeah. I'm dating myself here probably too, but if I had to go old school, I think a lot of us started with Eden Gray's Mastering the Tarot books.
That would have been my second choice, actually.
Well, I'm not going to say she's my favorite best author, but she was my stepping stone and my starting point. I would say one of my favorite authors is Mary K. Greer, who really brought the tarot home to me. She had such great books like Tarot for Yourself. She's come out with a tarot court card book and a tarot reversal book. And her books just go so in-depth and makes you think about the cards in a variety of different ways. But I'm hoping in live streams to come to talk about some more modern tarot writers that I've glommed onto recently and share some of their knowledge with you. There's an amazing depth to some of the tarot books out there today, and I'm hoping to review a number of those books with you as well. But Mary K. Greer is probably one of my favorite choices, and I think we would both agree that one of our favorite choices would have to be Rachel Pollack.
Oh, of course, absolutely. And you're much more familiar with her than I am, but I just know that she is considered a luminary in the field of tarot cards. I personally have not read in depth much of her works, but I would be hard-pressed not to consider her an expert on tarot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you brought up Monty Farber and Amy Zerner, and they have a lot of tarot learning tools as well, and just absolutely some great oracular devices that maybe I'll review someday on our live stream.
Well, maybe we could do a joint review of their new 25th anniversary. It actually came out about a year ago. Their 25th anniversary of the Enchanted Tarot, which is in the top 5 or so of my favorite tarots, because it's such a complete tarot for use literally in a body, mind, spirit kind of fashion. There are 3 modes to use it in. One is as a regular predictive tarot card. The other is maybe as an affirmation kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then there's also really cool mini or small rituals or ceremonies where you can actually tap into that energy of the card and perhaps create something
or meditations.
Special. A meditation,
right?
Yeah,
Some of them are very meditative, and so it really attunes your energy to the card and the reading that you've done for yourself.
He's purring.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy. That might but they can also purr when they're sick. So our little cat will give you an update on Sunday. Hopefully all will be well after the trauma of visiting the vet occurs, and. Yeah, so it's funny because at our previous live stream, our great cat, the one who has caused them all to go on a diet, was on stage for you to see. And tonight, it's been the Sunny Show. And he's been here with us all night, but I think he needs to be with us right now because he is just not feeling well. So we hope the best for him, Let's
do a little reading for
Should
him.
we?
Let's do a reading for Sunny.
Do we have a few minutes? We do have a few minutes. All right. I'm game. So let's ask if Sunny is going to be back to normal soon or back to his old self.
I'm going to take a cue from you earlier.
Okay.
Are we doing the right things to affect good change in Sunny's health?
You mean by going to the vet tomorrow?
Well, that's you doing the right thing.
Yes. I was just wondering if you were questioning me.
He likes when I riffle them. He wanted to play with them at one point. Now he looks a little bit annoyed. See that? The look of annoyance on the sun man's face.
Yeah,
What is that?
Yeah, I saw that. Maybe he doesn't like the wind in his ears or that sound.
Dear spirits of cats everywhere, tell us if we are doing the right thing for Sonny. What is the best way to ensure his health? You shuffle? Or no, just cut, I guess.
Oh, I thought I wanted to shuffle.
Okay, go ahead,
too.
shuffle.
You can cut this time.
See, this is why we know it works, because we're going to
We do
pull
try
the
to
right
get
card.
both of our hands on the
We're going to
cards
pull the
when
right
we're
card.
reading.
No matter what you think, it's the right card. We swear. We swear. Once again, I'd like to thank Veshi and the others in our chat for watching tonight. We really appreciate your questions. We hope everything works out for you and for all of our audience.
And don't be shy. Please feel free to ask more questions. That's what we're here for.
If we're not online, like I mentioned earlier, you can also go to our Facebook page.
I was supposed to cut that.
And leave a message in the inbox, and we promise to get back to you within a relatively quickish time, we hope.
Well, we do have a day job, so, keeping that in mind, we do try to keep up with things.
So just one card to begin?
Let's do one card.
Okay, and we have the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords. What do you think of that one? Huh? He's behind you. He's looking at you. Oh. Okay, I'm not teasing you too much, am I?
All right,
The
go
Page
ahead.
of Swords. In terms of his health, I would say that there's maybe a dicey moment in here. Some of that may impact more on us, like maybe the level of... This is a card of non-grace, of sort of clumsiness in a way, and it just could be saying that maybe there's a reason why it happened that has more to do with our handling of his care. And I know that Banshee has immediately thought about the tuft of hair that he swallowed down, and that I should have been able to spring up and pull it from his jaws, because we're actually wondering if that's what it is, if he has
just
some
may
sort of
have a
obstruction,
hairball or
hairball kind of
obstruction.
thing.
Well, I think that this card reveals that maybe we have been fooled by his health. Maybe we thought everything was fine and it hasn't been. Because I suspect this problem happened a little earlier than we realized. And when I see this card, that kind of tells me that we've been fooled by his appearances. He looks healthy. He's on the table with us. He's kind of jumped around a little bit tonight, but he's not eating like he should, and he's having some stomach upsets. So I feel that might be indicated here, and let's cross that card with something real quick as time is running out.
And you say it's crossing.
Yes. Well, we'll cross it to say
Okay.
what's... Oh,
And
I
it's
think
the
that's
King of
good.
Wands.
I think that's
The
positive.
King of Wands, which seems to come up a little bit in our readings now and then. The King of Wands cross him seems to indicate that, in my opinion, somebody that's probably really good with nature and animals,
A vet.
a vet will help us with this problem, will support us. I see that it's... I was very impressed with this particular vet. We met her for the first time last week. She definitely shows humanity for animals. She shows a willingness to relate to us because she knew we were concerned about that cat, just as we were concerned about this one. So I think we are probably in good hands with this personality.
I think that's indicating that it is a good choice to take the cat to a professional, somebody who understands, the condition that the animal's going through, probably better than we nervous owners do. And if for nothing else, to give us some peace of mind, but I do think there is something growthful happening here in a positive sense, that we will get something out of this that will help Sonny get back to normal again.
Just a little small point. We mentioned before that with the Queen of Wands, there was a black cat sitting at her feet. And in this card, there's a little salamander sitting at the king's feet. And to some degree, those represent animal instinct or the ability to be guided or open to instinct on that animal level. And I think that's probably the good way to end this, because we are at the end of the hour and we're saying that the spirit of animal is with our vet and hopefully with all of us in this process. And we hope to tell you very soon that Sonny is going to be in the clear. So we are signing off tonight. And
Thank
we
you for
really
spending
thank
the
you
evening with
for
us.
spending some time with us. We welcome your questions. Go ahead and drop them off in our inbox at Tarot for Today at facebook.com.
And by all means, do get your nightly reading for the next day. Get ahead of the game and get it tonight. Obviously, it's going to be a little late tonight, but it will be up on Facebook shortly.
See you Sunday.
Take care. Bye bye for now.